You have built the perfect life, the perfect career, the perfect mask. From the outside, everything looks exactly as it should. But somewhere beneath the surface, something is pressing against the door. Something you have never let yourself look at directly. Something you have spent years making sure no one, including yourself, could see. The basement door is shaking. Carl Jung called what lives behind that door the shadow. And in over 50 years of studying the human mind, he came to one conclusion that most people are not prepared to hear. What you refuse to face does not disappear, it only becomes more powerful.
Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist who lived from 1875 to 1961. He began his career as a close collaborator of Sigmund Freud, at the time the most famous psychologist in the world. But Jung eventually broke with Freud. He believed the unconscious was far more vast, far more ancient, and far more powerful than Freud had ever imagined. Jung went on to develop what he called analytical psychology. He studied mythology, religion, alchemy, and the dreams of his patients. He traveled to East Africa and India, searching for the universal patterns embedded in all human minds across all cultures. His most important discovery was not a theory. It was an uncomfortable truth that within each of us lives a hidden world, and most of us spend our entire lives running from it. Jung divided the psyche into 3 layers. First, consciousness. This is your waking awareness, your thoughts, your decisions, your sense of who you are. Second, the personal unconscious. Everything just below the surface. Memories you've suppressed, emotions you've buried, experiences too painful to hold in conscious awareness. Third, the collective unconscious, the deepest layer, a reservoir of shared human experience, symbols and patterns that Jung called archetypes, inherited, not learned, present in every human being who has ever lived. The shadow lives in the personal unconscious. Jung defined it as the unknown dark side of the personality. It contains everything you have decided you are not, every trait you've judged, rejected, or felt ashamed of. As a child, you learned quickly what was acceptable and what was not. When you got angry, you were punished. When you were too loud, too needy, too ambitious, you were corrected. And so you pushed those parts of yourself underground. But what you repress doesn't disappear. It only becomes more powerful. Jung wrote, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." Think of it like a pressure cooker. Every emotion you don't feel, every truth you don't speak, every part of yourself you exile gets sealed inside. The pressure builds, and eventually it finds its way out as rage, addiction, self-sabotage, depression, or as projection, seeing in other people the very things you refuse to see in yourself. Have you ever had an intensely negative reaction to someone? A level of contempt or irritation that seemed disproportionate to what they actually did? That person who seems so arrogant, that coworker who is infuriatingly lazy, that friend who is just so needy. According to Jung, those strong reactions are almost always projections. What you despise in others is what you've disowned in yourself. The person who triggers your rage about arrogance, ask yourself, where in your life are you afraid to take up space? Where have you silenced your own confidence? The person whose neediness makes you recoil, ask yourself, Where did you learn that your own needs were too much? Where did you bury that part of yourself to make yourself more acceptable? Your triggers are a map. They lead directly to what lives in your shadow. And the shadow doesn't only hold what is dark, it also holds your light, your creativity, your ambition, your courage. If these were shamed or suppressed, they went into the shadow too. Jung called this the golden shadow. The person you admire with an almost irrational intensity, that is often your own unlived potential looking back at you. Jung identified another archetype directly connected to the shadow, the persona. The persona is the mask you wear in public, the socially acceptable version of yourself, the reliable professional, the composed parent, the person who always has an answer. There is nothing inherently wrong with the persona. We all need it to navigate social life. The problem comes when the mask becomes so thick, so rigid, that you forget it's a mask. The persona is not just a mask, it is a parasite. If you wear it too long, the face grows to fit it. You stop choosing who to be, the role chooses for you. You say what the mask would say, you feel what the mask permits, and slowly, the distance between the role and the self becomes so vast that you can no longer find the door back. And here is the critical dynamic. The stronger the persona, the darker the shadow. The more energy you pour into maintaining the perfect image, the more you have to suppress to keep that image intact. The ultra-controlled person who never loses their temper, behind that is rage that has never been acknowledged. The relentlessly positive person who claims they never feel dark emotions, behind that is grief, fear, and loneliness that has never been allowed to surface. Jung was precise about this. You cannot live fully from behind a mask. The goal is not to destroy the persona, it's to know when you're wearing it, and more importantly, to know what it has been hiding. Consider a man. Call him Daniel. Daniel built everything from nothing. A prestigious career, a beautiful family, a reputation that took 2 decades to construct. He was, by every external measure, successful. But Daniel had learned early, from a father who equated emotion with weakness, that certain things were not permitted. Doubt was not permitted. Vulnerability was not permitted. Anger was not permitted. And so, piece by piece, those parts of himself went underground, into the shadow. On the surface, he was the architect, the builder, the one who held everything together. Inside, something else was building pressure. He snapped at his children over small things. He felt contempt for colleagues he couldn't explain. He dreamed repeatedly of being lost in buildings he had designed himself, unable to find the exit. He told himself it was stress, overwork, a season that would pass. It did not pass. He was successful by every metric. Yet, sitting in his perfect office, he felt a sudden, terrified urge to burn it all down. Not metaphorically. The thought arrived with a clarity that frightened him. Not rage, something quieter than rage. A recognition that the life he had constructed so carefully was not his. That the man sitting in that chair was not the man he had buried. The shadow had been pressing against the door for 20 years, and it had finally found the hinges. What happened to Daniel is not unusual. It is, in fact, one of the most common psychological crises Jung observed. Not the breakdown of a weak person, but the collapse of a persona that had been held too tightly for too long over a shadow that had been growing in the dark. Jung would not have called this a failure. He would have called it an invitation.
Jung called the ultimate purpose of psychological life individuation.
Individuation is the process of becoming a complete, integrated self, not perfect, whole. It means bringing the unconscious parts of you into conscious relationship. It means ending the war between who you present yourself to be and who you actually are. Most people never begin this process. They spend their entire lives running from their shadow, wondering why they feel incomplete, why their relationships keep fracturing, why success never quite satisfies. Because when you don't integrate your shadow, it integrates you. It runs your life from behind the curtain, and you mistake its compulsions for your own choices. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Shadow work is not comfortable. There's no technique that makes confronting the unconscious easy, but there are practices that make it possible and, with time, transformative. Method 1. Work with your projections. Write down 5 to 10 traits that genuinely trigger a strong reaction in other people. Don't overthink it. What comes to mind first is usually most honest. For each one, ask, where does this live in me? Not theoretically, specifically. When have I acted this way? Where does this impulse exist, even quietly, even buried? Do the same with admiration. The traits you most intensely admire in others are often the unlived parts of yourself, the golden shadow waiting to be reclaimed. Method 2. Active imagination. This was Jung's own method. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, deliberately invite a shadow figure into your awareness, the part of you that carries rage, worthlessness, fear of abandonment. Give it a form, let it speak. Ask it, why are you here? What do you want? What happens when I ignore you? Write down what comes, don't censor. What most people discover is startling. The thing they feared most is not a monster. It is a part of them that was exiled so long ago it had to scream to be heard. Method 3. Dream work. Jung interpreted around 80,000 dreams over his lifetime. He believed dreams were the place where the shadow speaks most freely. Keep a journal by your bed. The moment you wake, before the phone, before the day, write down what you remember. Pay attention to figures who feel threatening or disturbing. Ask, if this is a part of me, what part? What has it been trying to tell me? Method 4. Sit with your emotional reactions. When you feel an outsized reaction, rage, shame, jealousy, contempt, treat it as a signal. Pause before you react. Ask, is this about what just happened, or is something older speaking? Your emotional reactions are live dispatches from the shadow. The more you are willing to sit with them, without acting on them, without suppressing them, the more you begin to see the terrain of your own unconscious. The goal is not to destroy the shadow. The goal is to integrate it. You are not trying to become a person without darkness, without anger, without desire. That person does not exist, and the effort to create them only produces a more suffocating persona and a denser, more dangerous shadow. Integration means bringing what is unconscious into conscious relationship. It means saying, yes, this part of me exists, not acting on it blindly, not being controlled by it, but owning it, understanding what it needs and what it has been trying to communicate. Jung wrote that there is no light without shadow and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. When you integrate the shadow, something fundamental shifts. The energy you have spent suppressing, controlling, hiding, that energy becomes available to you. Your creativity expands. Your relationships deepen. You stop reacting from old wounds and start making genuine choices. You become more fully alive.
The shadow is not your enemy. It is the most honest part of you, the part that holds everything you were never allowed to be, the part that carries your wounds, and buried beneath the wounds, your power. Most people never turn around to face it. They spend their lives building larger personas and accumulating more distractions, staying busy so they never have to be quiet enough to hear what lives in the dark. Shadow work is not the end of you. It is the beginning of you. Shadow work begins with a single act of honesty. Ask yourself, what is the one emotion you have spent your life running from? You do not have to explain it. Just naming it in the comments below can be your very first step toward freedom. If this message brought you a moment of clarity today, leave a quiet like to help this philosophy reach others who might still be wandering in the dark. You do not have to walk this path of self-discovery alone. Join our quiet space by subscribing, and let us continue exploring the depths of the mind together.